This call is now being recorded.
Okay, so good afternoon all. So today we will start with the last type of this particular chapter, that is type number 3, which is called as a composite shaft. So in the last lecture we have covered the type number 2, in which we have discussed related to the design of the shaft. The design of the shaft means the calculation of the diameter. So whatever the solid shaft is there or whatever the hollow shaft is there, for that particular solid shaft or for that particular hollow shaft, either we have to calculate the external diameter, internal diameter, or in case of a solid shaft we have to calculate its diameter, means we are designing that particular shaft. So the design of the shaft may be taking place by using the two conditions based on the shear stress, that is T upon J is equal to tau upon R, and the second formula T upon J is equal to G theta by L. So we can calculate the diameters by considering the shear stress also. We can calculate the diameter by using the angle of twist also, and at the end we will make the comparison, and from that particular comparison we will take the maximum value of the diameter for the designing of the shaft. So this particular parts we have discussed in the last lecture, and based on this maybe 2 to 3 variety types of problems we have solved in the yesterday's lecture only. Now today we will start with the last point of this particular chapter, that is type number 3, composite shaft, or in bracket I have written as a shaft connected in the series. So what is meant by the composite? So the basic definition of the composite we have discussed in the chapter number 1. If more than two materials are connected to each other, and from that if you will get the new material, that material is called as a composite material. For example, if the steel and aluminum, if they are connected to each other, if steel material and the aluminum material, if they are connected to each other, then that combination is not called as only steel, or that combination it is not called as a only aluminum, or it is not called as a steel and aluminum, like that. So if the more than two materials are connected to each other, so that particular material is called as a composite material. Then what is meant by the composite shaft? Here the definition I have written: if the shaft of different materials are connected to each other. You can see, if the shaft of different materials are connected to each other, that shaft is called as a composite shaft, or it is called as a compound shaft also. Compound means if the in addition to one material, if the two materials are connected to each other, or if the two shafts are rigidly connected to each other, then that particular combination it is called as a composite shaft, or it is called as a compound shaft. Okay, now in that we are going to discuss about the shaft in the series, when we can say that the shafts are connected in series. So here one figure I have drawn. So what that particular figure indicates, the three shafts are there, and that three shafts are connected to each other. You can see here, this is the shaft number 1, which is made by the aluminum having diameter D1. This is the shaft number 2, which is made by the steel having diameter D2, and this is the shaft number 3 having material, or it is made by the brass having diameter D3. And its left side, this is the left side of this particular shaft, which is rigidly fixed, and at the free end the torque is applied. At the free end torque is applied. So now this particular shaft, or in this particular structure, the shaft number 1, shaft number 2, and the shaft number 3, they are not made by the single material. They are made by the different material. For example, the shaft number 1, aluminum is there. Shaft number 2, steel is there. Shaft number 3, brass is there. That means the shaft of different materials are connected to each other. The shaft of different materials are connected to each other. Therefore, this particular structure is called as a composite structure, or it is called as a composite shaft. This is the basic definition of composite shaft. But when we can say that the shafts are connected in the series, when we can say that the shafts are connected in series, for example, here the definition of the shaft connected in the series I have written: if the shaft of different materials are connected to each other along the length, this word is very important. The shaft of different materials are connected to each other along the length is called as a shaft connected in series, and it is indicated by this particular figure. You can see the shaft number 1, aluminum, to this particular shaft number 1, the second shaft is connected, that is steel shaft is connected. To that particular steel shaft, the third shaft is connected, that is brass. So shaft number 1, shaft number 2, and shaft number 3. All the three shafts are connected to the each other along the length. You can see the length of the shaft number 1 is L1. In front of that, immediately the second shaft is connected. Again, the third shaft is connected. That means all the three shafts are connected to the each other along the length. So this particular structure is called as a shafts connected in series, and as more than one materials are used in this particular structure, therefore this particular structure is called as a composite shaft also, because as per the definition of composite shaft, the shaft of different materials are connected to each other. So here aluminum shaft, steel shaft, and brass shafts, all the three shafts are connected to each other, therefore this structure is called as a composite shaft. In addition to that, these particular structures are called as a shafts connected in series. If the shaft of different materials are connected to each other along the length, that particular structure is called as a shaft connected in series. Okay, so now in this particular construction, the one end of the shafts are fixed. So at the left side, the structure is to be fixed, and at the right side, it is totally free. And at this particular free end, the T amount of torque is applied. You can see in this particular figure, this is the left side, which is fixed. The left side is fixed, and this is the right side, in which the T amount of torque is applied at the free end. The T amount of torque is applied at the free end. Okay, the T amount of torque is applied at the free end. So in this particular figure, the torque T is applied at the free end only on this particular brass material only. But as this particular shaft number 3 is connected to the shaft number 2, therefore same torque we have to consider for the shaft number 2 also. As this particular shaft number 2 is rigidly connected to shaft number 1, therefore same torque we have to consider for the shaft number 1. So in this particular construction, the one end of the shaft is fixed, and at another end the T amount of torque is applied, and the same torque we have to consider for the shaft number 1, shaft number 2, and the shaft number 3. Okay, that means torque remains same, but due to the torque applied at the free end, the twisting movement is taking place. Due to the torque applied at the free end, the twisting movement will be taking place in this particular shaft, and that twisting movement will not be remain same. Please keep in mind, due to the torque applied at the free end, the twisting moment, that is theta 1 of shaft number 1, theta 2 of shaft number 2, and theta 3 of shaft number 3, it will be not remain same. Only torque is remain same for the shaft number 1, shaft number 2, and the shaft number 3. But due to the single torque, whatever the twisting is taking place, that twisting will be different in the shaft number 1, shaft number 2, and the shaft number 3. You can observe here, the torque is applied at the free end on the shaft number 3. So maximum twisting is taking place for the shaft number 3. Then the middle shaft, shaft number 2, less twisting is taking place as compared to the shaft number 3. And this shaft number 1 is totally connected at one end. At one end, it is totally rigidly fixed. Therefore, whatever the twisting is taking place in the shaft number 1, it is less as compared to the 2 and as compared to the 3. So in such types of the condition, in such types of the composite shafts, or if the composite shafts are connected in series, and if I have to calculate the separate shear stress induced in aluminum, separate shear stress induced in the steel, and the separate shear stress induced in the brass, if I have to calculate, then I have to use the two conditions in that. Now the same figure I have considered. So what is your condition number 1? Condition number 1 tells that whatever the total torque applied, capital T is equal to T1 is equal to T2 is equal to T3. This is the equation number 1. So as the shafts are connected in series along the length, so whatever the total torque is applied at the free end, Now in the figure, you can see the torque is applied at the free end only. But due to the same torque, twisting is taking place in the shaft number 3. Due to the same torque, twisting is taking place in the shaft number 2. Due to the same torque, the twisting is taking place in the shaft number 1. Therefore, the total torque applied on this particular shaft is equal to T1 is equal to T2 is equal to T3. But whatever the twisting is taking place in the shaft number 1, that theta 1, it will be different. Due to the same torque, whatever the twisting is taking place in the shaft number 2, theta 2, it will be different. And due to the same torque, whatever the twisting is taking place in the shaft number 3, it is theta 3, it will be different. So if I have to calculate the total twisting moment of this particular shaft, so condition number 2, that is total twisting, angle of twist, it is also called as a angle of twist, which is called as a capital theta, is equal to theta 1 plus theta 2 plus theta 3. So I have to calculate the theta of shaft number 1, shaft number 2 and shaft number 3, and at the end, if I will do the addition, then I will get the total angle of twist of that particular shaft. Then what is the formula for the theta? So we are having the torsion formula. T upon J is equal to G theta by L. So this is the torsion formula we are having. If I will write the same equation in the form of theta, so this L is present at the right side. If I will take to the left side, it becomes T into L divided by this G is present at the right side. If I will take to the left side, it becomes G into J. So by using this particular formula, I can calculate the angle of twist. Therefore, capital theta is equal to T into L divided by G into J of shaft number 1 plus T into L divided by G into J of shaft number 2 plus T into L divided by G into J of shaft number 3. Or shaft number 1 means aluminum, shaft number 2 means steel, and the shaft number 3 means brass. So like that, by using these particular two conditions, I can calculate the total angle of twist of that particular composite shaft. So understand the condition number 1. What condition number 1 indicates that the total torque applied on that particular shaft is equal to T1 is equal to T2 is equal to T3. E1 shaft is applied at the free end, but shaft number 2 and 3 are connected to each other. Similarly, shaft number 1 and 2 are also connected to each other. Therefore, whatever the torque is applied at the free end, same torque we have to consider for the shaft number 1, shaft number 2 and the shaft number 3. But due to the same torque, whatever the angle of twist, whatever the twisting movement is taking place, it will not be remain same. Therefore, the total angle of twist is equal to theta 1 plus theta 2 plus theta 3. What is the formula for the theta? By using the torsion formula, T upon J is equal to G theta by L. So I have written the equation in the form of theta. You will get T into L divided by G into J. So this is the formula similar to the delta L is equal to PL upon A. But this delta L represents the linear deformation. This delta L represents the linear deformation which is taking place due to this particular capital P. But this theta represents the angular deformation which is taking place due to this particular capital T. The delta L is taking place due to the external load which is indicated by capital P, and delta L is directly proportional to the P. If P is increases, deformation is increases. Similarly, in the theta formula, this theta is called as a angular deformation which is indicated by the theta, and that theta is directly proportional to the torque T. If torque is increases, angular deformation is also increases. And based on this particular last type, we have to solve one sample numerical. How to calculate the shear stress induced in the shaft number 1, shear stress induced in the shaft number 2, and the shear stress induced in the shaft number 3. Shear stresses also we have to calculate separately, and in addition to that, I have to calculate the total angle of twist. So total angle of twist is equal to theta 1 plus theta 2 plus theta 3. Depends upon the number of shafts are connected. If there are only 2 shafts connected, capital theta is equal to theta 1 plus theta 2. If 4 shafts are connected to each other along the length, therefore capital theta is equal to theta 1 plus theta 2 plus theta 3 plus theta 4. Like that, we have to make the addition. So this is the last type based on the composite shafts, in which we are going to solve the problems for the shafts connected in series, and in that we are calculating the separate shear stresses induced in the each shaft and the total angle of twist. So please write down these particular two conditions in your notebook. That is, total torque is equal to T1 is equal to T2 is equal to T3, and total angle of twist is equal to theta 1 plus theta 2 plus theta 3 plus so on. It depends upon the number of shafts connected to the each other. So take these particular conditions in your notebook. Based on this, we'll solve one problem. Then you can understand that how the statement will be given and how to calculate that particular parameters. Okay. Now here in this particular construction, at one end the shaft is fixed and at another end only torque is applied. It is like a cantilever structure. At one end it is fixed and at free end only torque. Means we can say that this particular shaft is under torsion. This particular shaft is under the torsion. Some of the constructions are like that. This is the shaft number 1. This is the shaft number 2. This is the 1. This is the 2. But this shaft is totally free from left side as well as right side. If I have to make this particular shaft under the torsion, so what I will do, I will apply the torque at the left hand also. I will apply the torque at the right hand also. But both the torques are opposite in direction. You can see the torque applied at the left side, it is anti-clockwise. The torque applied at the right side, it is clockwise direction. That if one torque is in anti-clockwise direction, another torque is in clockwise direction, then and then only that particular shaft will becomes under the torsion. If both the torques are applied in same direction, the shaft will not becomes under the torsion. Therefore, sometimes the figure will be given like that. The shaft is fixed at one end and at another free end only torque is applied. Then also your shaft is under the torsion. Sometimes you will get this particular figure in which the two shafts are connected to each other, but at left side also it is free, at the right side also it is free. And if I have to make that particular shaft under the torsion, so at the left side the torque is applied, at the right side also torque is applied, but both the torques are equal in magnitude. For example, if the 5 kilonewton meter is applied at the left side, same 5 kilonewton meter is applied at the right side. So equal in magnitude but opposite in nature. The left side torque applied is moving in the anti-clockwise direction and the right side applied torque is moving in the clockwise direction. Then and then only your shaft will becomes under the torsion, and then we can calculate the shear stresses induced in the shaft and the total angle of twist. If the shaft is not under the torsion, it is very difficult to calculate the shear stresses in the each material or in each shaft, or it is also not possible to calculate the total angle of twist. So like that, the figure number 1, this is the figure number 1, it is also under torsion, and this is the figure number 2, this is also under the torsion. Okay, so this is the basic ideas or the basic concept related to the composite shafts, and in that the shafts are connected in series. So once again I will repeat the definition. If the shaft of different materials are connected to the each other along the length, that particular structure is called as a composite structure, and in addition to that it is called as a shafts connected in the series. And for that calculation, condition number 1, capital T is equal to T1 is equal to T2 is equal to T3, and the total angle of twist is equal to theta 1 plus theta 2 plus theta 3. So this is the basic concepts and the basic conditions which we have to use for the solution of the problem. And based on this, now we will solve one sample problem based on this particular type. So I will read the statement and then we will solve. A compound shaft, compound means composite, a compound shaft is composed of 1 meter length. The length of the shaft is given 1 meter of solid copper of 150 mm diameter. Total length is 1 meter. In that, the solid copper of, the length of that particular solid shaft, a compound shaft is composed of 1 meter length of solid copper of 150 mm diameter joined to 2 meter length of joined to 2 meter length of solid steel shaft of 200 diameter. Compound shaft means more than two shafts are used. Shaft number 1 having length 1 meter. Which material is there? Copper material is there. What is the diameter? 150 mm. This copper shaft is connected to the another shaft. What is the material? Steel. The length of the another shaft 2 meter. The diameter of the another shaft 200 mm. That means length is also different, diameter is also different, material is also different. These two shafts are rigidly connected to each other, and the torque of 26 kilonewton meter, the torque of 26 kilonewton meter is applied at the end of shaft in opposite direction. This sentence is very important. Whatever the torque is applied at the left side, 26 kilonewton meter, same torque is applied at the right side also, but both the torques are in opposite direction. Full stop. Find the maximum shear stresses in the each material. We have to find out the shear stress in the copper. We have to find out the shear stress in the steel. In addition to that, find the total elongation, total angle of twist of entire shaft. I have to calculate the total angle of twist, that is capital theta. I have to calculate. Take G for the copper 30 giganewton per meter square and G for the steel 85 giganewton per meter square. So this is the statement, and now from this particular statement, if I will draw the figure, let us see the first shaft. These are the two shafts I will draw. Both are having the different diameters. Okay, so this is the copper and this is the steel. Their lengths are also given. The length of the copper 1 meter, length of the steel 2 meter. Diameter of copper shaft, how much? What is the diameter of copper shaft? It is 150 mm. And the diameter of steel is equal to 200 mm. So the copper and the steel shafts are rigidly connected to each other. Now, therefore, this particular construction is called as a compound shaft. You can see the copper separate diameter is there, separate length is there. This copper is connected to the steel shaft having diameter 200 mm, length 2 meter. And now this particular combination is called as a compound shaft, or this particular two shafts are connected in the series. Now the torque is applied at the free end. So at the left side, this is the torque value which is applied in anti-clockwise direction. Similarly, at the right side, again the torque is applied. Its magnitude is T is equal to 26 kilonewton meter. Similarly, here also 26 kilonewton meter, means magnitude is same at the left side as well as at the right side, but the directions are opposite. If the directions also become same, this shaft is not under the torsion. If it is not under the torsion, no shear stress, no angle of twist. Therefore, one torque is applied in the anti-clockwise direction, another torque is applied in the clockwise direction. And now from this, I have to calculate the shear stresses induced in the steel and the shear stress induced in the copper, and I have to calculate the total angle of twist. So if I will write down the given parameters, so let's see, length of steel is equal to 2 meter is equal to 2000 mm. Okay, then diameter of steel is equal to 200 mm. Okay, then G for the steel. What is the G for the steel? 85 giganewton per meter square, means 85 into 10 raised to 3 Newton per mm square. So these are the parameters for the steel. Similarly, length of copper is equal to 1 meter is equal to 1000 mm. Diameter of copper is equal to 150 mm. G of copper is equal to 30 giganewton per meter square is equal to 30 into 10 raised to 3 Newton per mm square. Okay, and one common parameter is given, capital T is equal to T of steel is equal to T of copper is equal to 26 kilonewton meter, but I have to convert in Newton mm. So 26 into 10 raised to 3 converted into Newton. Again meter is converted into mm. Again 10 raised to 3. So you will get capital T is equal to 26 into 10 raised to 6 Newton mm. And what we have to calculate? We have to calculate the shear stresses, means tau of steel we have to calculate, tau of copper we have to calculate, and total angle of twist means capital theta also we have to calculate. So these many parameters we have to calculate from this particular structure. Now if I have to calculate the shear stresses induced in each material, if I have to calculate the shear stresses induced in the each material, so initially let us see shear stress in steel. So we are having the formula, torsion formula, T upon J is equal to tau upon R. T upon J is equal to tau upon R. Same formula I will write in the form of steel. T as a common, J of steel upon tau of steel divided by R of steel. So T 26 into 10 raised to 6, J pi by 32 into d raised to 4. What is the diameter for the steel? That is 200 raised to 4. Tau of steel we have to calculate, and R of steel means 200 divided by 2. So you can calculate the tau of steel. Similarly, shear stress in copper. Same formula again, torsion formula, T upon J is equal to tau upon R. I will write the formula T as a common, J of copper is equal to tau of copper divided by R of copper. Once again, 26 into 10 raised to 6 divided by pi by 32 into 150 raised to 4 is equal to tau of copper I have to calculate divided by 150 divided by 2. So I can calculate tau of copper. Find out the shear stresses. So to calculate the shear stress in the each material, we have used their respective parameters only. Now here only torque is same for the steel material and for the copper material. Only torque is same. Otherwise, their polar moment of inertia J will be different, their radius will be different, and their shear stresses are also different. Now do the calculations and tell me the answer. What is the shear stress induced in the steel and what is the shear stress induced in the copper? Yes, what will be the answer? Yes, what is the shear stress in the steel material and the copper material?
Zero 0.016.
0.01? No. Yes, 16.55. This is correct. 16.55 Newton per mm square. This is the shear stress induced in the steel. And what is the shear stress induced in copper? Steel, 16.55, correct. 16.55 Newton per mm square. And in the copper, 39.23, correct. 39.23. 39.23 Newton per mm square. And if you compare both the stress value, they are not remain same. The stress is maximum where area is minimum. You can see in the steel material as the diameter is 200 mm. So their cross sectional area is also maximum, and at that point the stress is minimum only 16.55. But in case of a copper, the diameter is 150. If diameter is 150 means the area is minimum. Where the area is minimum, at that point your stress is maximum. Therefore 39.23, it is the maximum stress as compared to the stress induced in the steel material. So to calculate the stresses in the each material, what we have done, we have taken their polar moment of inertia, we have taken their respective stress, we have taken their respective radius only. So like that we have calculated the separate shear stress induced in the each material. Now third parameter, total angle of twist. Total angle of twist, which is called as a theta. Therefore capital theta is equal to, we are having the formula, capital theta is equal to theta of steel plus theta of copper. We are having the theta formula, T into L divided by G into J of steel material plus T into L divided by G into J of copper, because we are having the torsion formula, T upon J is equal to G theta by L. Okay, now from this particular term, which are the constant parameter? Theta of steel plus theta of copper. From this particular term, which is the constant parameter?
T upon G.
Yes.
T.
Yes, torque, whatever the torque is applied on the steel material and the torque applied on the copper, this torque is remain same. Therefore, this T I will take outside the bracket, remaining length of steel divided by G of steel plus J of steel, bracket complete, or this is the big bracket. Inside that again length of copper divided by G of copper plus J of copper, this bracket complete. Now I will put the value, theta is equal to capital T 26 into 10 raised to 6 in bracket length of steel 2000 divided by G of steel 85 into 10 raised to 3 into pi by 32 into 200 raised to 4 plus length of copper 1000 divided by 30 into 10 raised to 3 as a G, and J pi by 32 into 150 raised to 4. And from this calculation you will get the theta. Now do the calculations and tell me the value of theta. You will get the theta in radian. You will get the theta in radian. Yes, 39.23. This is the shear stress induced in the another shaft material, that is in the copper. Now use the second condition. What is the second condition? Total angle of twist is equal to theta is equal to theta of steel plus theta of copper. We are having the theta formula, T into L divided by G into J. T is the constant parameter we have taken outside the bracket. Remaining parameters we have kept in the equation. And now find out the value of theta in radian, because all the parameters in mm, Newton per mm square. So you will get the theta in radian. Do the calculations properly. Whatever the bracket is there, first of all solve that particular bracket, and to that particular bracket you have to multiply by this torque 26 into 10 raised to 6. Yes, what will be the answer in radian? .03. or 0.021? Please check.
Zero point 021.
Yes. Tell me the total answer. Whatever the number of digits you got, tell me all the answers. Yes,
0.0213278.
0.021.
36. 32.
32, 33, 36, no problem. So this is in radian. 0.02133. This is radian. If I have to convert in degree, so 180 by pi, we have to multiply by 180 by pi. You will get the theta in degree. So what is the value in degree? Whatever the answer you got?
1.22.
1.22 degree. Both the answers are accepted. If you write the answer in radian, also you will get the full marks. If you write answer in radian as well as in the degree, then also you will get the full mark. So please check your answer. In radian, 0.02132. It is in radian. If I have to convert that particular radian value in degree, multiply by 180 by pi. Radian to degree, multiply by 180 by pi. But if I have to convert degree to radian, we have to multiply by pi by 180. Exactly opposite. So please check your answer. 0.02132. This is in radian. To that radian value, I have to multiply by 180 divided by pi. You will get the theta in a degree 1.22. And this theta represents the total twisting taking place in that particular shaft due to the 26 kilonewton meter torque applied. This theta represents the total twisting of the copper as well as steel shaft. This is not only, it is not applicable only for the copper, it is not applicable only for the steel. This twisting represents the total angle of twist of that particular shaft. So please do the calculations properly. 0.021323336. That depends upon the number of digits you are considering for the calculation. But at the end, if I will convert in degree, you will get the answer in the form of 1.22, 1.23, 1.21, like that. Yes, 1.22 degree. This is the correct answer. Others, please do the calculation and represent your answer in the chat box. Here the calculation part is very important. If you take this particular t as a common, then also you will get the answer. If you keep that particular t inside the bracket as it is, then also you will get the same answer. But for more simplification, whatever the constant parameters are there, that you have to take outside the bracket. Yes, 1.22 degree. Those who have not done the calculation, please do the calculations and type your answer in the chat box. Yes, 1.22 degree. 1.22, 1.21, 1.33. This is very long. Please check. Please check your calculation. 1.33. It is very big distance or big value. 1.21, 1.22, 1.23. These are the near about each other. Okay. The calculation part is very important. The first part already we have discussed in the type number 1 only. Shear stresses in the each shaft. So here also we have calculated by using the same torsion formula, but here total angle of twist is equal to total theta is equal to theta of steel plus theta of copper. For the theta, we are having the common formula T into L divided by G into J. We have kept all the values and then you will get the theta in radian first. Then I have converted in degree, multiply by 180 by pi. And the final answer is 1.21 or 1.22 or 1.23 degree. Okay, so this is one sample problem just I want to discuss with you. Yes, 1.22, now it is correct. This is one sample problem just I want to discuss with you how to calculate the total angle of twist if the shafts are connected in the series. Series in the sense the two shafts are connected to each other along the length in horizontal direction. They are connected to each other. Therefore, that construction is called as a shaft connected in the series. And in that case, if the shaft is subjected to the torque, how to calculate their total angle of twist? So total angle of twist means total theta is equal to theta 1 plus theta 2 plus theta 3 plus theta 4. Like that, it depends upon the number of shafts. Okay. I hope everyone has calculated. Anybody have any problem for the calculation? Please ask me. Yes, 1.22. I hope everyone has calculated and you have understood this particular sample problem. Now we'll move to the last point of this particular chapter. Why hollow shaft is preferable than the solid shaft. Always it has been considered that the two shafts are in front of you. The solid shaft is there and the hollow shaft is there. But out of that, if I have to use the shaft in any application, at that time I will prefer the hollow shaft as compared to the solid shaft. So why it is to be preferable? Because there are some reasons are there. Due to that particular reasons, always we are considering the hollow shaft in any type of application instead of solid shaft. So why it is there? Because here the shear stress is always maximum at the outer periphery. You know, the any shaft, it is having the outer diameter. In case of a solid shaft, it is having outer diameter as a capital D. And in case of a hollow shaft, it is having the outer diameter as a capital DO. So in case of a both solid shaft or in case of a hollow shaft, both are having the maximum shear stress at the outer periphery. The shear stress is always maximum at the outer periphery, but it is minimum at the center of the shaft. It is minimum at the center of the shaft. For example, here I will draw the solid shaft. This is the solid shaft. This is the center point. And here I will draw the hollow shaft. The hollow structure can be represented in the form of hatching line. So this particular hatching line represents the shaft is in hollowing structure and this is the center point. So this shaft is having the external diameter as a capital D and this shaft is having external diameter as a capital D. So in both the shaft, the shear stress is maximum at the outer periphery. That means at this outside diameter, the shear stress is maximum. So in case of a solid shaft, it is maximum at this particular outer diameters. Similarly, in case of a hollow shaft, the shear stress is maximum at the outer diameter means DO, but it is minimum at the center. So in case of a solid shaft, whatever this particular center point is there, at this particular center point, the shear stress is minimum. At the center point, the shear stress is minimum as compared to the shear stress developed at the outer periphery. Again, in case of a hollow shaft, the shear stress is maximum at the outer diameter, no problem. But at the center of the hollow shaft, the shear stress is totally zero. Please keep in mind. In case of a solid shaft, some amount of shear stress is induced at the center also, because in case of a solid, there is no hollow portion present at the center. But in case of a hollow shaft, at the central position, the material is not present. Therefore, as the material is not present in case of a hollow shaft at the center, so there is no shear stress developed in case of a hollow shaft at its center point. So this is the one of the advantage for the hollow shaft in which no shear stress is developed at the center point. Why? Because no material is present. Okay, this is the first reason. In case of a solid shaft, its central portion cannot be utilized. In case of a solid means, in case of a solid shaft, the central hollow portion is not there. You can see in the figure, this is the solid shaft. At the center point, material is also present. At the top point, material is also present. That means there is no any hollow section present in case of a solid shaft. But in case of a hollow shaft, the central hollow position, it can be used for another type of application. So in case of a hollow shaft, whatever the central portion is there, in that particular central portion, I can insert one more shaft. In case of a hollow shaft, at the center point, I can insert one more shaft for the another type of application. That means central portion of the hollow shaft is utilized for any other application. But in case of a solid shaft, its central portion cannot be utilized because in case of a solid shaft, no central portion is present. Therefore, in the design point of view, the shear stress is minimum at the center and the strength is also maximum at the center. Shear stress ज्या ठिकाणी minimum आहे त्या ठिकाणचा पोर्शन आपण काय म्हणतो, स्ट्रॉंग आहे किंवा तिथली स्ट्रेंथ जास्त आहे असं आपण म्हणू शकतो. देअरफॉर इन केस ऑफ ए हॉलो शाफ्ट or in case of a solid shaft, at the center portion the shear stress is always minimum. Therefore that particular shaft is having maximum strength at the center portion, and due to this reason only the hollow shaft is preferable as compared to the solid shaft. So what are the two reasons? First reason is the shear stress is always maximum at the outer periphery. So for the solid shaft, for the hollow shaft, the shear stress is maximum at the outside diameter, but the shear stress is minimum at the center. So in case of a solid shaft, some amount of shear stress is induced at the outer periphery also, as well as at the center also, because in case of a solid, some material is present at the center, therefore some stress is also induced at the center in case of a solid. But in case of a hollow shaft, shear stress is developed at the outer diameter, no problem, but at the central portion no shear stress is developed, because at the central portion no material is present at the central portion. In case of a hollow shaft, if material is not present, no shear stress will be developed. हवेमध्ये किंवा कॅव्हिटी मध्ये कधीच स्ट्रेस डेव्हलप होत नाही. Therefore in case of a hollow shaft, at the central position no shear stress will be developed. Therefore the hollow shaft is more preferable as compared to the solid shaft. This is the first reason. Again, second reason, in case of a hollow shaft, their central position can be used for another type of application. In case of hollow shaft, we can insert one more shaft at the center, but in case of a solid shaft, it is not possible to insert the shaft at the central position. Therefore in case of a solid, no another application is there, but in case of a hollow, we can use that particular shaft for the another second application. In addition to that, as at the center point the stress is minimum, so the strength is maximum at the center point also. Therefore सॉलिड मध्ये सेंटरला काहीतरी शियर स्ट्रेस इंड्यूस होतोय, पण हॉलो मध्ये सेंटरला 0 शियर स्ट्रेस इंड्यूस होतोय, म्हणजे सेंटर पोझिशनला हॉलो शाफ्टची स्ट्रेंथ ही सॉलिड पेक्षा काय असणार आहे, जास्त असणार आहे. इन केस ऑफ ए सॉलिड ऍट द सेंटर पॉइंट फॉर एक्झाम्पल 20 न्यूटन पर एमएम स्क्वेअर एवढा स्ट्रेस इंड्यूस होत असेल, पण हॉलो शाफ्ट मध्ये सेंटरला 0 न्यूटन पर एमएम स्क्वेअर स्ट्रेस इंड्यूस होते. सगळ्यात मिनिमम स्ट्रेस कुठे इंड्यूस होते सेंटरला, तर हॉलो मध्ये. त्यामुळं हॉलो शाफ्टची स्ट्रेंथ ही सॉलिड पेक्षा काय असणार आहे, जास्त असणार आहे. देअरफॉर ड्यू टू दिस पर्टिक्युलर 3 reasons only the hollow shaft is more preferable than the solid shaft. So these are the reasons due to which the hollow shaft is more preferable than the solid shaft. And with this particular last point, we have finished this particular chapter number 4 related to the torsion of the circular shaft. Okay, so with this today we will stop here.